episode of our friend, the spiritual healer, the third part of that. And where did it go is what we were just trying to figure out. There was a little miscommunication, but we're here. Hope you've had yourself an amazing week. Well, Scott, are you still looking for that, right, Scott?
Yeah, well, Al sent it to me, and I sent a link to Jessie. So I'm just trying to track down the link to, oh, I found the link now, if I can get it to process.
Perfect. So while he's finding that, I'm going to start something on October 7th, which is next Monday, which is a shred 10, it's called. So for 10 days, you eat super, super clean, and you eat these fruit and vegetable type supplements. Randy Devine is who I've learned about this with. And it's using these juice plus fruit and veg type supplements. So, and do it for 10 days and see what kind of body difference it makes for you is the idea, or health difference, energy difference, that kind of thing. So, Scott, does this play?
I have the link, but I'm not sure I can share it. Can you give me the sharing authority?
Don't you have that? If you go on the bottom line where it says present, you should be able to share as well, I believe.
No, I just have mute, stop cam settings. Oh, present. Yeah. Oh. Go away. Share screen. Oh, I don't know what it's gonna share here though. How about that?
I see something. Okay. Oh, yeah. Here, now I have to add it to the stage. There you go. Okay. So if you press play. Oh, you have pressed play. Okay. Hello. My name's Allan Friesen. The show is Health, Hope, and Happiness, H3. With me is my co-host, Scott. Hey, Scott. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I just want to say for the people watching this video, it is not a week later. Allan and I and Dan are not all wearing same clothes for a week. We're actually recording this one because Al will be away next week. But it is live tonight, and you'll get it right from well, not horse's mouth, but our mouths. And we've been talking with Dan, and we just couldn't do it in 2 shows. So hopefully we'll get what we need to talk about them tonight. What do you think, Dan?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, we just can't get enough of Dan. Dan, I have a question from our last one. We talked about EMF and them being, and it's probably more, some people have more sensitivities to it or whatever, or, it's not like a blanket thing that everybody's impacted, but some people certainly are. But then, are you familiar with PEMF?
No.
So that's pulsating electromagnetic frequency, and that is basically a tool for longevity and healing. So you basically lay on a mat, and it has a controlled electrical impulse that is supposed to restore your body, heal your body, and like longevity experts say that this is a great tool in terms of restoring health and living a long, healthy life. So, anyways, But when we closed off, you were just talking about just getting to some of the practical things we can try in terms of if we're to maintain our health, or if our health is less than we would like it to be, in terms of our ability to do the things that are important to us and serve in the way we want to serve, and be of value to others, that kind of a thing, and just enjoy activities. That's good health. So then how do you get there? How do you restore that, or how do you maintain that? And I think that's where we were just going with when we ended, right?
Right. And I think what I want to do is start off by discussing a concept in physics. So when you observe a particle, that particle changes. How does it know you're observing it? I don't have that part figured out, and I don't think the scientists do either, but what they noticed was that the particle changes just from the process of being observed. So from my perspective, energetically, that's developing a connection, an energetic connection through the energy field that we all live in. And that's how I know everything is connected to everything else, and how I can use it from a physics perspective. And that's how I do this distance.
If I'm following what you're saying, let's say we had this itemized, separated there, and our energy from looking at that is what actually changes that.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the explanation that I would understand.
That makes good sense.
There might be other explanations, but that's one that makes sense to me, because that's what I see in everyday life. And why that is important for me is because we do a lot of cultural practices all over the world that use that concept. And one of them is praying, for example, where we would connect with an object or a person in our mind, saying, okay, we're praying for grandma at the hospital to get better. And so when they did the research, then I think it was in California, they did 30,000 patients that were prayed for and 30,000 patients that weren't. I might not have the exact element. This was a very old study.
Huge, obviously. Whether it's 30,000 or whatever, it's a lot of people. So.
A lot of people that were prayed for had better outcomes than the people who didn't. So when I look at things like research, because I'm a skeptic of everything, I want to make sure that, I'm just not being told a concept and then having to believe it without some practical evidence and some information that would help me understand that what I'm receiving or looking at makes sense, makes common sense, and makes a whole bunch of other sense. And if I'm doing something and there's no reaction and there's no difference or change in the thing that I'm doing, I think I might stop doing it until I get a result.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what biofield research and energy research is about. It's really incredibly hard to prove because we don't have instruments to measure things like gravity. We don't have, we can feel the gravity, but we don't have any type of instruments that where we'll be able to see it. And there's a whole bunch of energy out there that we don't have instruments to actually be able to prove that it's there.
But there is for some like energy that we would emanate from our heart, that
yes,
or energy from your center here that would be, let's say, 2 feet. Like there's a way that they can measure that scientifically. Is that not correct? Like they've got instruments that say they can see that energy field out that far.
Yeah, there's some things that we can measure. So we've got machines right now where you go in and you've got a heart problem. They'll measure your heart rate and the electrical magnetic energy that is around that, or the electrical impulses that keep your heart beating. And they'll hook your brain up to a whole bunch of things, and you can get your brain checked. There's lots of tests out there that measure frequencies and impulses. But our biofield energy is really, we can measure it practically with a human being, but we don't have a machine that quite yet that can measure that. Just like a few other elements that we can't measure yet. So how do you prove something like that? And that's what the science of research does. So if you do something 1,000 times and 998% or 998 times the thing you measured does what you said it was going to do, that's a pretty high statistical rate of a probability. And one that we would probably want to use in our life if we do something and a reaction that we want or an outcome we want happens. So that's how pranic healing works for me, and some of the other biofield energies work. So, and there's lots of research going on right now all over the world to show that that works. So from a practical perspective, we were talking about practical things for human beings. What about practical? Well, we'll go to the human being ones first for a couple. So one of the things that I do from an energy perspective is if I have medication for other people or my food or water, I'll bless it. I'll send it energy and I'll ask it to be healthy and help me in an appropriate way. And that I also have gratitude for it being part of my life. What we know is that
You verbalize that, or you just you think that internally?
my intention follows the energy follows my intention. My intention is to ask that water, ask that medicine to help me or help other people in the most appropriate way. And what I even go a little bit further, I say minimize the harmful side effects, maximize the best outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Do you think vocalizing? Do you think like I know what's that?
Vocalize it.
Yeah, it doesn't harm in any, and it probably even amplifies it. Perhaps would that be a fair statement?
I would say when you vocalize things, when you sing things, when you use the voice frequency, that's just a little bit more amplitude for it.
I like to say before I eat, even when I'm with other people, and I just say, bless this food for our body's use. That's it. You know, just a little quick thing, and then, you know, but yeah, I love that, and that intention, and that, you know, you're blessing the food, and you have that attitude, that gratitude as well, and then also just know, you know, you're kind of being conscious about the choices you've made, because you're saying, you know, for this part of this, maybe, you know, minimize the deleterious effects. Did I use that word right? I think so, deleterious.
The interesting part about this is that it can be applied to anything. And so and I think medication's very important for us because a lot of them have negative side effects today. But the issue for me is also the people who touch that, the truck drivers who put it in their truck, transporting it from the factory, the pharmacists and the sales clerk, lots of people have touched your medication. And their energy is imprinted on it somehow. And so I clean it energetically, and I start it, and I program it to whatever way I can have an effect on it. And my thought, even if my effect is only 1%, I've made a 1% difference, which is worth my time and effort. And if I've made a 90% effort, then wow, I've minimized side effects and I've increased the health of whatever I'm dealing with. So this applies to objects in our home. You know, you get something from Amazon, how many hands have touched that? So, and we don't even think about it, we just use it. And, you know, you don't have to get carried away with this, but we talked about people being very sensitive. Well, my grandson's autistic and he's incredibly sensitive. I can do some energy work on him from 10 feet away and he will feel it, and it'll feel like he's being tickled, and he'll have a visible reaction to me healing him. So I got to be careful about how I do that on him. Mm-hmm. And he knows that there's an energy focus on him. When he was a little baby, we got my daughter got him an item, and it came from another country, and it was loaded with some really harmful emotional energy. So whoever packaged it had some type of issue, and it imprinted on this thing, and he went crazy. He started crying and screaming and becoming very upset. And my daughter had to remove him, and she texted me because I was away, and she said, "What's going on?" And I scanned. I said, "Oh, there's some dirty energy nearby." And I said, I scanned on its color, and I said, "Okay, it's black." I said, "It's about 2.5."
How are you there, buddy?
I'm here, yeah.
Hello?
Yeah,
I seem to have frozen.
Huh. Now what?
I've just paused the feed until I Oh, you're back, Al?
I can see and hear you. Scott? Well, it looks like we're still live. Maybe Scott's joining me. I'm hoping he is. The show with Dan there, he's amazingly intuitive, talented healer, and I learned a ton from those episodes. We had 3 episodes. This was the 3rd one that we had done here as well. So, how about a song while we're waiting? Let me tell you about a girl I know. She my baby and I love her so. Every morning when the sun comes up, she bring me coffee in my favorite cup. That's how I know, Lord, I know. Hallelujah, I just love her so. Yeah, I know. Oh, I know. Oh, Scott's back. Hey, Scott.
Hey.
You're back.
I was just texting you saying I'm here. I'm listening to your song. Yeah, the system froze. You were taking a drink and everything froze, and then it went, and I was out. Had to log back in.
Okay. So do we resume where we were, or what do we do?
I think so. Oh, what's it doing?
That was me. I brought Jessie on and then off, so he's refreshed to the Jess TV feed.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I think maybe that's all we have to do. Just a sec here.
You know what? Where the issue could be, Scott?
What's that?
I moved into my house, and I have been using my phone hotspot for my internet.
And so yeah, because you're relaying 3 feeds now, right? You're relaying you, me, and the screen I'm sharing, right? So
yeah. So maybe it's a little overloading my capacity. But we're going to play the rest of this where we were, right?
Yep.
How are you enjoying it? It's good, eh?
Oh, yeah. This was such a great talk. Dan's a really interesting guy. And I know there's going to be people that are like, oh, this is crazy. But, I've traveled all over the world, lived in lots of different cultures and stuff. And there's a belief that's present in all of them that's very similar to what Dan's saying, right? There's energy, and there's some great books that I studied when I was doing my degree in comparative religion on sacred space, and how there's places that people who are, are not spiritual, that aren't religious, and when they experience these places, they feel an energy there, and they don't have the words necessarily to describe it, and there's places that exist all over the world that have energy, and even people that are actively trying to disbelieve, and they say, well, it's some geographical phenomenon or whatever, but there's a lot of history and tradition that's in line with what Dan's saying, and which what I found really interesting.
Definitely. And a place like that has like so much a spiritual place where we would draw people to, where they would pray and they would, be concerned for each other, and they would sing together, and they would have all these ceremony, that kind of thing. A place like that, like it just gets, I don't know, saturated. Like if you go into like an old cathedral in a lot of places in Europe, it's like, oh man, like you can feel like you feel a presence, or you feel some difference in your body just from walking in the place, right? It's just like right away.
I co-authored an article in the Journal of North American Religion on a church in Manitoba called Precious Sang, or the Precious Blood, and it's a Catholic church, and Etienne Gavry, I think, was the architect. I have to check that now. It's been a few years. But this was a modern church, but it was designed to focus the energy of the congregation and the prayer and worship. And it was an amazingly spiritual place. And the architecture was designed to amplify the worship and the community of the people that were worshiping there, like you said. So this isn't such a strange concept, and I think that it's worth people considering, even if they're not into alternative or new age things. Dan's pretty grounded. That was a joke about how energy how it does play a role in everyone's lives. So yeah, I certainly think that people should take time and go through the 3 episodes. And if you're good to go, I think we should play the last part of this one.
Just to interject for our viewers or listeners, this is interview 3 with Dan Erickson that we had recorded after we did interview 2, and we're just airing it now. So carry on.
So this thing had an effect on him.
You know what? It kind of reminds me of about being open to the sensitivities of others, right?
Yes.
Just because I don't have a sensitivity to it, I could judge. Well, what's wrong with you? Like, there's something wrong with you and they just have more sensitivity than I do, and there's probably things that I might have more sensitivity to or awareness of than other people as well, right? And that awareness and that acceptance of other people's special, unique talents, abilities, capacities in that regard, I think it's something you kind of have to develop, because the initial thing is to judge, right? Is to say that there's something wrong with this person because I don't experience this the same way, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what I think is taking energy seriously and trying to make your home somewhat clean is a good idea. Like, plants are good energy cleaners. Cactuses are the best. Feng Shui principles, how did they come to be? Well, they're based on energy principles. So they have an effect on our home. And the other thing too is people have sensitivity to lots of different things. People call them allergies, but they might have sensitivities to food, to animals, to different things. And it could be energy sensitivities as well. People have sensitivities to EMF. What I see happening regularly is people have sensitivity to scents, to what they smell, to the point where they can't be at work or near people who have perfume or the smells environment. That's how sensitive people are becoming to what's going on around us. And I don't take anything for granted and would look at all types of things. And energy healing can help with some of those, but your body's a complicated piece of machinery that sometimes requires you to be careful about all those things. So how do you find out if you're allergic, and how do you find out if you're sensitive to these things? Some people are sensitive to other people's emotions. They're called empaths. So you bring an empath into a room full of people who are mourning somebody, and they're going to feel that energy. So it has a lot of practical applications for people. Well, how do you help an empath protect themselves? So I teach people about shielding. How do you shield yourself? Well, it's pretty easy. You just make an energetic bubble. You place yourself inside that bubble, and you strengthen that shield through intention. And you say, this energy shield will protect me for the next 24 hours. It will let positive and negative energy out, but negative energy won't be allowed into this shield. And most people can create a strong enough shield to repel some of that energy that's not helpful. If you're a very sensitive and you're a very strong energetic person, that shield will be a lot stronger. And then I can also help strengthen that shield too with my own energy. So that's a practical application of somebody who works in an environment where there's a lot of issues, like nurses and doctors and healthcare workers and people who are cleaners. One of the things that we know right away about this that's truthful is if you want to close off your energy body what are some of the things you can do physically?
What are the things some of you do physically?
Yeah, you're
Alcohol.
across the table. No, to block your energy from other people. You're across the table from somebody who you don't like.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you know?
You cross your arms. Yeah, you move yourself back a little bit. You keep your attention elsewhere. Look at somebody else, right? So, yeah.
What you're doing is you're bringing your energy body in very closely.
Yeah, yeah.
And your shield becomes stronger because you're compressing your energy close around your body. That's one of the energy principles behind crossing your arms and legs and moving your energy in. Something people wouldn't have realized, but from an energy perspective, I can measure that. People who are know about biofield energy and have sensitivity in their hands and practice that can feel that energy. And then you can open yourself up too and be wide open, and your aura can be huge, and people can be allowed to come in it, and you can share your happiness. You can give somebody a hug. That's why hugs are great. You're sharing your energy and your love and your compassion. At the same time, you can be a creep and have ill intentions about somebody, and you can step into another person's personal space, and somebody will know instantly, I am not happy about you in my personal space.
Yeah.
So people do feel energy, they just don't realize it sometimes, but you can feel it right away if somebody's invading your space and it's creepy, or the intention isn't good.
Yeah,
those are all energy principles. So they're things that we can do.
Well, really, a lot of what in a perfect world, we'd have a lot more awareness about energy, right? That we'd be more cognizant of it and intentional about how we're going to act and utilize energy in a positive way, right? In terms of bringing it in, expressing it out, that we're aware of the power of it, and how we can heal with it, how we can help others to heal with it, or put them in a state where it's easier for them to heal, and show acceptance for them, show love for them, those kind of things, and then just be aware of the negative aspects of energy, or those emitting negative energy, and then how we shield or protect ourselves from being absorbing that. Am I summarizing that pretty close?
Yes. And Scott touched on it before. There's a cultural perspective to this. In Japan, India, China, most of the things we're talking about, people have been practicing for thousands of years already. Their buildings, the way they do personal interaction, their religion, their spirituality, their housing practices, many of the things they do are based on energy principles. And culturally, they're accepted. And I think it'll slowly happen a lot more in Western culture as people understand it more and more, and we do things properly, like do good research concepts. An example is they're doing a research program in South America on crops. So they're using pranic healing, and people are doing that blessing technique, but they're helping the crops develop and grow better. And so the crops that get the pranic healing are doing a lot better than the crops that aren't. So
wow. You're familiar with that water ice experiment, that Japanese, that's amazing too, right? That praying changes the structure of the ice as it forms, right?
And I think the individual strength of a person, their ability to manage that energy, to transmute it, to channel it, has an effect on how much change might be responsible for a certain thing. So, they did that experiment with ice, they did that experiment with food, and it's very interesting to see some of the outcomes, depending on the people who did it. Even children did it as classroom experiments. So, thinking about things differently is good because it opens the possibility that there might be something that we haven't thought about that might make a difference in our lives. So from a cultural perspective, looking at the way other people do certain things and they have good outcomes with it, it might be good to emulate and try that and then apply a research principle and see if it's effective. So our energy bodies are very, very interesting, and we can apply intention to them. I think it's called a bindi in India, where they put a dot or a painting or a certain thing on your forehead. That has an impact.
There's different styles.
Different styles.
Yeah.
All of
And
those
that is
things.
what, to show like a concept where energy is concentrated. What's the point of that?
No, they're cultural or religious practices based on certain issues. One of the things that it does impact is your energy system, and that makes that area where it's located, makes that energy area bigger. So there might be other things, but that's one quick thing that happens. So your ability to focus and do things with that part of that energy system changes just because you've done something to it. People put pendants and crosses and things over their heart to change their energy system. And you've got one right now, Allan, that your throat chakra is naturally larger just because of that pendant. And
Thank
its
you.
ability, so, and the good thing is that there's no negative effect to it, although I wouldn't wear it all the time.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Well, you're saying take it off, give it a cleanse in the sun or the dirt, or right, to restore it, right? So, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we do expel dirty energy. We're a machine, and good energy comes in, and used up energy goes out. It happens regularly. We get energy through our hands and through our feet and through our spleen and through our skin and through in the air prana, the sun prana energy from trees. You know, it's all coming in, and we're using it. It's helping our body function, and that's the principle behind biofield energy, is that energy gets used, and if it's flowing properly and everything is functioning well, we're good to go. If it's not, if we have a blockage or something is congested or we need energy in a certain part of our body and we're not getting it, that's when we get the disease. That's when the problems occur. And that's how a healer works, making that energy flow properly.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't want people to think it's a panacea and it's going to work 100% of the time, but it's going to help your body recover and function to the best of its ability. If it's getting overwhelmed, there might be nothing that you can do. If everything's shutting down, it doesn't matter how much energy is coming in. It might just not be enough.
Right. But the connection, the process of connecting internally, like connecting yourself together, and then focusing on that energy and encouraging, putting the intention to use that energy to heal, kind of a thing, that it certainly can't ever do any harm, can it?
No, and from a health perspective, there's other things we need to think about. So for older men like myself, for all of us, we need to exercise a little bit more than perhaps we would have thought about. And that's just to keep our muscles stronger, to keep our heart and lungs and our body parts, to make sure our bones are healthier. We need to manage our diet and ensure the intake of what we're putting into our body helps it be as strong and healthy as it can be. We need to think about the detox element. We need to think about our fiber. You know, there's a lot of energetic elements that we need to take care of. And exercise is managing energy. It's to strengthen our muscles and to make sure our bones are strong. And as we get older, our engine isn't functioning like it used to. So we need a little extra help. So there's energetic things that you can do. Even managing your stress, managing your breathing, managing meditation, all of those things contribute to your overall health and wellness. So my recommendation is to explore certain things. You know, what you guys are doing is bang on. We need more information about how to manage ourselves, how to make ourselves healthy. What are some optimum best practices? What are some good strategies? And what are some alternatives that we should consider that we might not have ever thought about that seem to work really well for other people, like energy healing? You know, I go to these fair type of things, and I see people with crystal bowls doing crystal healing, doing music and energy healing with music bowls and crystal bowls. I see lots of different practices, like you had mentioned, Allan, using different energy practices like EMF, or even muscle chairs where we would do something, or infrared, or different practices. It might not be that things are right for you, but it might be that this is what you need.
Okay, so Jessie sent me a text of some questions, and Jeremy Gook is who's asking these questions. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching, Marilyn. So his question is, if one blesses a food, yet the food or a prescription has a negative component, how does an energy cleanse it? So I don't know the answer to that. I'm just sharing it. If one of our viewers has a way to, or if you want to take a run at that, Scott, to answer that.
No, that's out of my area of expertise, certainly.
You know what we could do? We could send it on to Dan. We could.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dan. Jeremy, here's what we're going to do. We're going to send it on to Dan. He's a lovely man, and I'm sure he'll have some kind of answer. Jeremy also comments, I can see if there is a natural medicine, the energy would then act accordingly. So, you know, that medicine that was designed to cure that or to resolve that. Yeah, makes sense, Jeremy. I'm with you. And thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you you watching. And carry on, Scott. Let's finish the rest of this recording.
To make you really well.
Mm-hmm.
And you use it for what you need. And then if you don't need it anymore, you don't have to keep on using it. But a lot of people find really good practice. And our emotional well-being is really important. Our self-compassion is incredibly important. Dr. Kristen Neff is the self-compassion guru that I listen to, and she's got her selfcompassion.org website. Has a whole bunch of practices on self-compassion.
I think it's Chris Beamer is her partner in self-compassion. Dr. Chris Beamer, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, we need to take care of our emotional well-being as much as we help other people with their emotional well-being. I'm really good at ignoring myself when I'm focused on helping others. You know, you got to give yourself what you would give other people. And we don't think about that. We talked earlier about not sharing our emotions or dealing with our emotions very well. And that's communication. And when we have difficulties in life, we need to communicate well. Communication is an energy, and you can use it well, or you can use it poorly. You know,
that's a great point to put sort of as we wind this up. But before we do that, Dan, right now you're not looking for any patients, but somebody's listened to our 3 episodes. They're interested, whether they're buying it all or not. But we sparked a little bit of interest. That's what H3 is all about, is just asking questions. What can people do? Where can they go for a source, a primer, if you will, that you feel is at the right level and without a lot of negative? Like, where could somebody get started if they just want to learn more about what?
Great question, Scott. So how would somebody's intrigued by what Dan had to share with us? How do they move forward with that and bringing more, utilizing energy more thoughtfully, more intentionally in their lives, right? Yes, beautiful. Yes, Dan, that's a great question.
GlobalPranicHealing.com is
GlobalPranicHealing.com. Okay.
That's the international one.
Okay.
Going on YouTube, there's lots of of good, just type in pranic healing and you'll
Okay.
come up with lots of things from Stephen Coe, who works with Tony Robbins out of California, and Master Glenn, who's a doctor in New Jersey, and he's in charge of the research. If people really want to get a hold of me, they can do it through my email, and I'll be glad to see if I can help somebody. I'll be looking for patients in a couple of months, and
Okay.
I'm looking.
Did I get the website right?
I think so.
globalpranichealing.com. Okay, good. Okay, and if you're okay with sharing your email address, I'll just
Yep.
copy that in here too, okay?
Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Dan, it has been an absolute pleasure meeting you. I have learned so much from you, and I think that you have given our viewers some amazing resources and an amazing, what would you call it? An amazing awareness about being more cognizant about energy and using it in our life.
I have a great system, and I use this system for measuring kings, queens, movie stars,
Right.
and people I meet.
Yeah.
And that system is simply, I ask myself, would I be interested in taking my personal time and sharing a coffee with this person?
Yes.
That's the highest accolade I can give somebody. And Dan, I would love to share a coffee with you sometime. And
Yep.
just talk about whatever pops up. So
Yeah.
that's-
Next time I'm in Alberta.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. No, I lost it. Hang on. I'm going to show it here. We're already over 30 minutes again.
I'll
My
add it
goodness.
into the links of our.
Oh yeah, here, okay. I'll just show it up so it'll show on the thing. Come on, baby.
Hey,
There we
Jeremy.
go. All right, now I think I pressed the next button. Oh, that other one still goes. There's not a space.
all right.
There's not a space after the .com, but you'll get it.
Yeah,
www.pranichealing@gmail.com.
Yeah, you send something to me, and if you need some help, I guarantee you I'll help you in whatever way I can.
Dan, you were a beautiful
Thank
human being, and it's been so nice to get to know you. And I would love for us to keep in touch at a schedule that works for you. Okay?
Sounds good. And if either of you need help for a healing, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you so much, brother. Okay. All righty. Jeremy, if you're watching still, send me your email address. I sent your question to Dan, and when he gets back to me, I can just forward it to you. And my email address is alfriesen, ALFRIESEN @gmail.com. And you probably know it. I'm pretty sure you do already know it. Okay, Scott, end the share. Oh no, I got to end the share. There we go. Okay.
Magic.
Anything
You have the
to
power.
add before we wrap it up here?
That was a great series, great 3-part series, and it was really enjoyable, and it was fun watching it back again. Sometimes when I'm in the show with you, I forget what a great job you do hosting. Well, I got to watch it, like watching it go. So yeah, that's great. Fun to be a part of.
Looked a little odd to our viewers where we are watching us and Dad on the, it's just kind of, all right. But anyways, it was a good episode. I really liked it, and just watching it again was valuable, I thought. So no, it's good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you can look for it on our podcast. It should be there now or within an hour. So
cool. Okay. Take us home, Brother Scott.
thank you very much to Dan from last week and the 2 weeks previous to that, to my very good friend Allan Friesen the Acapellist, and from myself, Scott Sweetman. We will see you all next week, live, same time, same place, with hopefully no technical difficulties. Have a great week, everyone.
Gitamatsin. So Scott,
Yes.
the new StreamYard thing.